Every day in our room, we learn something more about being fair. Would you like to see how? Well, right now, Tommy thinks this game is not fair. Of course, each child who is chosen chooses another from the ring. But Tommy thinks they choose only their friends, and that doesn't seem fair. That's what Tommy's thinking. They choose only their friends. But look, Marilyn chooses Tommy, and she isn't a friend of his. Now Tommy will choose someone who isn't a special friend. This way, everyone gets a chance to play. That's being fair, isn't it? Yes, every day in our room we learn something more about fairness. Another day in class, Tommy is making a cutout horse and wagon. Now all he needs is some paste to keep them in place. Let's see. The bottle of paste is in the cabinet. Yes. But Arnold needs the paste too, and he was first. Is this fair? Shouldn't Tommy wait his turn? Let's think with Tommy about other times when we wait our turn. When we want to go on the slide on the playground. It isn't fair, is it, when someone tries to go on the slide before you? This boy should go to the end of the line and take his turn as everyone does. This way, everyone can have a fair chance to use the slide. And we all have fun when we play fair and take turns. There are other places, too, where we take turns. At the drinking fountain, no one pushes, no one shoves. No one pushes when we're waiting for a bus, either. Everyone stands in line and waits his turn. Can you think of other places where we play fair by waiting our turn? Tommy thinks it would be better to wait his turn. He can use the paste after Arnold uses it. That's the fair thing to do, isn't it? But what is Arnold doing? Why, he's taking some paste for himself, and he's going to give the whole bottle of paste to Tommy. Arnold knows that there is only one bottle of paste in the cabinet, and that others want to use it. So he took a little paste for himself and shared the rest of it with Tommy. Arnold showed Tommy that another way to be fair is to share things. Do you think when we share, we are being fair? Tommy remembers one day when he had some work to do, raking leaves. Jim was there, too, and they had Tommy's bike to play with. Jim said he would help rake the leaves if he could ride Tommy's bike part of the time. They would share the work and the fun by taking turns. First, Jim was to ride the bike while Tommy raked leaves. Then Jim was to come back and take a turn raking leaves while Tommy rode the bike. That sounded fair enough. But Jim refused to give up the bike when it was Tommy's turn to ride. Is this fair? Jim was supposed to share the work and the bike with Tommy. Sharing things with your friends is a good way of being fair, isn't it? And Tommy knows that sharing things in the classroom is a good way to be fair. Others need to use the paste. Tommy is glad to share it. Sharing helps us in both our work and our play. What else do we learn about being fair? Robert knows that Sally likes to model with clay. Her little clay animal looks almost real, doesn't it? But Robert isn't doing too well. Can you guess what Robert is thinking? He thinks it would be a good idea to mess up Sally's work, make it look as bad as his. Oh, would that be fair? No. Robert wouldn't want anyone to spoil his work. Why, he remembers one day in the garage at home when he carefully painted a design on the stool he had built. Some bullies came in and began to tease him about the stool. They said they were going to mess up his work. Was that fair? No. The fair thing to do is to respect the rights of others. Robert certainly wished they had respected his rights and his work. Yes, Robert knows that he shouldn't even think about messing up Sally's work. He will respect her work and her rights. Maybe he can learn something from her. Maybe she'll even give him some help. See? Sally wants Robert's work to be good, too. Can you think of anything more fair than that? Do you see how in our class we learn something new about fairness every day? That's what makes our room such a good place for work and play. Our class showed it one day when I was called out of the room for a few minutes. Listening to the teacher and obeying the rules are good ways of being fair. I asked the class to work quietly while I was gone. Do you think they did? See if you think they knew how to be fair and obey the rules when they were by themselves. When Susie had something to tell Betty, she whispered it, so as not to disturb the others. Susie was being fair to the class, for the class wanted quiet so they could work. Everyone had work to do. Uh-oh, Dorothy had trouble, but Roger was glad to help her. Do you think that helping others is another way of being fair? Betty found something funny she thought Jack would enjoy. Isn't this another way of sharing? Of course, I was pleased when I came back into the room. Everyone was quietly doing his own work. Isn't this a good way of being fair? Do you always try to be fair this way? In our class, we've learned many ways of being fair. Do you remember? We've learned that when we take turns, we are being fair. When we share things, we are being fair. We show fairness when we respect the rights of others, just as we want them to respect our rights. When we obey the rules, when we are quiet and do our work, even if the teacher is out of the room, we are being fair. And we are being fair when we know how to choose people. We don't just choose our friends. We choose so that everyone gets a chance to play. Don't you think our class knows a good bit about fairness? Is it any wonder that our room is such a good place for work and play?